Next, a guard shouts for the gates to be opened as the knights of the McLain have returned. The people of the city remark on how they've returned within only a week of the war, and how they've heard that the war has ended in just one day. Two guys begin to speak, and one of them wonders how that is even possible, and asks if their knights were always that strong-toe, which the other guy replies by asking him if he heard the rumors, that it's all thanks to the first young master, Logan McLain. He goes on to say that according to the soldiers who came back first, young Master Logan's mercenaries turned the battle around. They jumped out from behind the enemies as if they knew it would happen. Another guy comments that they've annihilated the enemies with some mysterious weapon, and that Logan has even taken down a high-ranking knight all alone. Then a girl asks if the young master was always such a great person, to which some other guy says that he always thought that Logan was just fooling around here and there. The citizens begin to wonder that maybe he has bought all that monster meat in the past for a good reason, and that he must have had a bigger picture in mind. The crowd begins to theorize that maybe Logan was just acting all this time, and they get goosebumps over it. They even begin to praise Logan, saying that prodigies are simply on another level. Thanks to the fact that he is now a mana user, Logan hears everything, and says that it is so embarrassing to hear people talking like that about him. Even Ranyan goes on to ask him how it feels for everyone to praise him, and Logan replies that all that is doing is making him red in the face, and tells his brother not to overdo it. But Ranyan tells his brother this is impossible, as everything he says is true, and that Logan should smile at the people, since they are so glad to see him. Logan thinks about it, and seeing all those excited faces, he decides to go for it, and gives them a killer smile. Literally, he looks like he's trying to keep the poop in until he manages to get to the castle. He's quite frankly fancy pants Rich McGee, or maybe Medusa, as they all turn to stone after seeing Logan's smile, making all of them believe that Logan wants to chop their heads off with his thumb. Yet Logan doesn't understand what he's done wrong, and Ranyan just pities him. Patrick turns his head to look at Logan, and he appears to be really proud, as next, he shouts that the next praises should be for the champion of this war, and to begin the grand welcome. Long live McLain! Long live young Master Logan! Next, the grounds of the castle are shown, and Logan strolls through the court, thinking that a welcome ceremony lasting till the morning is impressive, especially for people who just got back from war. However, his happiness is short-lived, as his mother shouts at him from behind and asks him what is he scheming. Ranyan pulls on her mother's arm, trying to stop her, but Marion goes on to say that she has heard everything and asks Logan if he's really rejected becoming the successor, and what in the hell is he plotting, as he might have fooled the others, but she doesn't fall in that category. Ranyan tries to de-escalate the conflict and tells Logan that the matter with the Kairoses really affected Marion, but Logan tells him everything is okay. He turns back to Marion and thinks that despite her long-lasting resentment, right now she's lost all real power because Kiros betrayed her, and she can no longer be a threat to him. He goes on to think that as long as he's doing this right now, she might accept his apology sincerely. He acknowledges to Marion that his actions in the past few months were not at all trustworthy, and that he too is even regretful of his actions that were driven by jealousy and inferiority. Hearing this, Marion shouts at Ranyan that she was right, as Logan even admitted it himself that it was all his plan. However, Ranyan interrupts her and once again begs her to stop. He apologizes to Logan once more and tells him that she's not normal right now. However, Logan doesn't seem to care much about Marion, as next he appeals to Ranyan and tells him to listen carefully, because he's actually the one who deserves an apology. Ranyan is stunned to hear that, and asks Logan what he means by that. Logan goes on to say that he's been apologizing to him ever since he came back, but he could never say exactly what for. It seems that the regrets and cowardly nature he's built up over the years weren't so easy to overcome. Ranyan asks his brother what on earth he means, yet Logan implies that Ranyan already knows what he's talking about, that for the past years Logan actually detested Ranyan. Logan goes on to say that he tried to avoid his own incompetence by hating Ranyan, and that right now he genuinely regrets those pathetic years of his existence, and asks Ranyan to allow for a formal and genuine apology. Logan bows down his head and tells his brother he is sorry. After all this, Ranyan looks at his brother without saying anything, and Logan, still staring down, thinks that ultimately, your wrongdoings can't just be covered up by your good deeds, and says that he is just as naive as ever. Ranyan finally breaks the silence and tells Logan that everything is okay, and Logan is stunned to hear that. Ranyan goes on to say that he believed that as long as he was nice to Logan, even when Logan was cold towards him, someday the brother he knew would return, and smiled at Logan. I'm not gonna lie to you all, this is enough to make a grown man cry. Logan is happy, and wonders if maybe he hesitated to do something this easy for this long. He then goes on to speak to his mother. Logan tells Marion that he genuinely cares for Ranyan, and that he honestly hopes for Ranyan to become the successor. He goes on to say that he knows well that asking Marion to trust him immediately is a hard favor to ask, so he instead asks her to keep watching him, as everything he does going forward is for the greater good of the family. And as Marion leaves, Logan thinks that this apology should suffice for now. Next, in some forest, Logan and Hamar walk together, and Hamar asks Logan where on earth are they going right after returning from war. But Logan tells Hamar he had enough rest, and it's about time to get back to work, to which Hamar replies that he's only anxious about the task, and murmurs that he's actually anxious about how Logan is going to squeeze everything he's got in him this time. But Logan assures Hamar he will definitely enjoy this task, but Hamar is reluctant, thinking Logan has no idea what he's talking about. They stop in a clearing, both looking in the distance, and Hamar seems to be stunned. It appears that Logan wants to develop a mine. Next, the conversation from Tesron Barony is completed, and Patrick goes on to tell us what Logan wants as his reward. It appears that what he wanted is the chance to develop the hill near Tesron's border. Patrick says that they may call that place a hill, but it's actually a wasteland, as there's nothing there, and he asks Logan why it has to be that place. But Logan just smirks, and says that there might be gold buried underneath that wasteland. It seems that the real reason for which Tesron forcefully started a war came to light a year after the war ended. Tesron had begun exporting gold from a hill in the McLain territory they had taken over. The gold from that mine alone made Tesron far more influential than the average Count family. That was until Rewound McLain massacred their family in revenge. In the underground prison of the Tesron Barony, Kaisolon says there are a few peculiar people there, so he thinks Logan should have a look. One of the prisoners states that they didn't do anything bad to get imprisoned, just what the Count asked, to bring gold from the mine as they were hired to, yet the Viscount locked them up anyway. Logan places his hand on his face in disbelief, thinks how stupid Tesron was, and doesn't believe he locked up 5 of those precious mine specialists. Seeing this, one of the prisoners asks Logan if he's getting mad on their behalf. But what's actually happening is that the businessman inside him came to light, and Logan thinks that he has found a way to some unexpected profit. The old man looks at Logan and wonders what even is the deal with this guy. We all wonder, Pops. Logan goes on to think that they've won in the fief war against Tesron, but that is the equivalent to barely making it past a small wave. If invasion by the Empire led to the collapse of the nation in the final hurdle, the event that will happen after 1 year will be the downfall of the nation. That is the death of the present king, Samuel von Grandia. The king's sudden death led to a clash over the crowd among 3 princes, leading to a 3-year-long civil war that drastically reduced the kingdom's forces. Before the kingdom could recover, the Empire invasion began. Actually, it was the first cause that led to the downfall of the kingdom. Since McLain isn't part of a specific faction, maintaining neutral stance like this could leave them as a mere spectator. But Logan thinks this is an opportunity as well, and he can't just let it blow. He says that he's going to use that unrest to regain the country's past territories and become the Lord of the Southwest once again, and if possible end the Civil War, and something else. But just when Logan is about to say it, somebody interrupts him. Hamar is asking Logan what is he daydreaming about after calling him there, since he didn't even answer when he called out to him. Logan thinks that he didn't even realize it, and that he has to get his act together, as he barely got through a crisis just now. With the future in mind, he's got to build up forces as quickly as possible, but right now that's just going to sound like he's crazy. So no matter what, he's got to do it with his own money. That hill will become the cash cow to fund his endeavors. Logan tells his servants that there's gold in the middle of this hill, and he wants to dig it up to develop a mine, and asks them what is the estimated cost. His servants look mesmerized, and Hamar thinks that this is another ridiculous request. The old man thinks that Tesron was paying them a lot, so he agreed instantly, but a gold mine might be too much, and asks Logan if he's sure there's gold in there, to which Logan says that he is sure, and tells them he saw the gold, and the old man asks how that is possible. Logan tells them that this is a secret operation, so only the 6 people that are there will do the drilling. And hearing this, the old man thinks that Logan might want to kill them. The old man asks Logan how can just the 6 of them do the drilling, and tells him that he is being excessive. He wants to say that even with a dwarf this is just too much, but he doesn't finish the sentence and prays for Hamar to do it instead. But Hamar looks him in the eyes and says that he might as well be prepared to die, to sleep a little less and give up on living like a normal human. And seeing that look, the old man thinks he is screwed. Logan thinks that as expected of Hamar, he's got the mindset of a slave, or better said, of a worker. Logan says that now Hamar and the old man are ready to work, and once again asks to hear for the estimate. The old man tells Logan that they need to drill to get an estimate of the gold deposits inside the hill, but only the initial investment will have to be 5 million gold. Hamar also says that the safe development of the mine will take a long time, and just the preparation will take 6 months, and the full force mining will take another 6 months. Just as he thought, Logan says that it's going to take a lot of money and time, but this mine made Viscount Tesron richer than other Count families, and he needs to develop this mine at all costs. He argues that only if he were able to sell the monster meat right now, he would have enough money, but the effects of it will only become well known around 6 months from now. However, Logan realizes that maybe he doesn't need to wait, and that if he addresses its toxic nature, he can use it as medicine right away. He thinks that he has used neutralizing agents countless times when he was a mercenary, so he can make it as well. If he makes it himself and sells it, he will get a fortune. A week later, at the Southwest McLain villa, Rick brings Logan the shady medicine made by grinding nightgrass, plot herbs, and leaky grass. Logan tells Rick not to call it shady, as it's only a neutralizing agent. Logan then asks where is the monster meat, and Rick tells him it's in the villa's warehouse just as he asked. Logan tells Rick that this is great, and that they're going to put the medicine in the monster meat. Hearing this, Rick goes crazy, and asks Logan if he has to go with him, and Logan tells him that of course he has, but it seems Rick is not so excited, and tells Logan that he's never been there, so he doesn't know what he's up against. Logan is annoyed and wonders why is this brat fussing so much all of a sudden, but then he suddenly understands. The smell is so bad it could even make a sewer look more favorable. Logan says that he knew it smelled bad, but this is making him want to throw up, and it seems that Rick is already at it. However, Logan finds a solution. He uses his aura to block the smell of the monster meat. After that, he is prepared to go in, and he tells Rick that they need to get started. But Rick is stunned to see Logan is okay, while he's still about to barf, and when he asks Logan about it, Logan tells him that he paralyzed his sense of smell using force. Rick calls Logan selfish, and Logan tells him that if it bothers him so much, he should awaken the force himself, and do whatever he pleases. Logan gives Rick a white powder that is the neutralizer, and tells him to sprinkle it on the meat. He tells him that he should sprinkle enough to make the outer layer look white, and the black part that's left is the poison, so he should be careful. After that, he needs to mince it finely, and make it into small balls. After he prepares a sample, he asks Rick if it looks like medicine, and he replies affirmatively. Logan goes on to say that they're going to sell this as medicine. Rick is going to be the one making it, so he needs to pay attention so he can remember it. Rick protests, and tells Logan he won't do that at any cost. Logan tells Rick that he's going to pay him 100 gold for each pill made, and that makes him change his mind. However, Logan is sad, because he thought he could get it done for free. Logan tells Rick that he needs to test how effective it is, and Rick asks what it's used for, and Logan tells him that it's a medicine that's good for men, but Rick doesn't understand what Logan means by that. Logan tells him that he's so frustrating, and that he'll explain it only once, so he should listen carefully. A picture of 2 rabbits appears, a male and a female. The male seems unhappy because he is weak and can't stir his little stick inside the pot, so the woman taps him on the shoulder and gives him a chill pill. The chill pill turns him into a super rabbit and makes his stick 4 times the size it was before, so he can better use it to stir the pot. After hearing this, Logan asks Rick if he understands, and he says that he's got it, and tells Logan that there's a perfect person for him to test that. Logan asks who that is, to which Rick replies that it's Mr. Dwayne. Next, Dwayne is seen knocking on the door of Logan's study, and he tells him to come in. Dwayne tells him that he's sorry to bother him, and that he heard Logan called for him. As he enters the study, Dwayne can't see where Logan went. That's until he appears like a Dracula behind Dwayne and scared the shit out of him, as he tells him he was waiting for him. Dwayne jumps back like a professional basketball player almost having a heart attack, and tells Logan that he can't just pop behind people out of nowhere. Logan gets close to Dwayne and tells him that he was just going to massage his shoulders, as he has been so tired these days from cleaning up matters after the war. But Dwayne says he is fine, and that Lord McLain is having a much harder time. Logan remarks on how he even collapsed because he is so low on energy, but Dwayne says this happened because Logan surprised him. Logan tells Dwayne that he knows he has been having a hard time. He then proceeds to shout at him that they are broke since they dug up every last penny they had for the war, and the servants and knights don't even know that, yet they keep pestering him asking for money. Thus, the administration is having the hardest time ever. Dwayne says that he must have misunderstood Logan all this time, and that he didn't expect him to be so deeply considerate to even think about the administrators. However, Dwayne doesn't finish his sentence, because Logan intervenes, and asks if this might be the reason for which he has trouble in bed, and upon hearing this, the poor man remains still as a statue. He charges for the door and wants to leave, but Logan asks him to at least listen to all he has to say, and then proceeds to give him the medicine made in the backyard of his villa. Logan tells Dwayne that it's a patented product from the Philip Merchantry in Kale, and that it has guaranteed results even from just 1 pill. He then goes on to think that he never even tried the pill himself. Dwayne takes the pill reluctantly, and looks at it while Logan goes on to ask him what he thinks about this deal, as he is giving Dwayne the pill as a present, before giving it to anyone else. After some time, Dwayne is seen running the castle corridors towards Logan and Rick. They both turn when Rick hears Dwayne shouting after them, and Logan already thinks that his plan works, as Dwayne came back for more medicine. Rick starts to school Dwayne for running the corridors, but Dwayne doesn't care one bit about it, and jumps right to asking Logan how much he wants for the pills. Poor guy looks like he could murder for those pills. Seeing this, Logan puts on a killer smile and says that the medicine is a hit. Rick looks annoyed at the scene because no one is giving him any attention, while Logan tells Rick to give him his hand. Dwayne huffs and sweats intensely and kneels before Logan. Blood looks like he's about to propose, and Logan looks like he might accept, while Rick is just amazed by whatever is happening. Logan hands Dwayne a wooden box of pills, and Dwayne accepts them, as if he was just given the biggest honor there is. Turns out that after the first successful trial, men bowed their heads in front of Logan, and the experiments continued a few more times. Sometime later, in Logan's study, Logan talks to Heinkel, telling him that he had heard the rumors that he and his wife had been fighting every night. Yet Heinkel doesn't admit to these rumors, and asks Logan who dares spread lies like that. He doesn't get to say another word, as Logan tells him to stop the yapping, and shoves a pill in his mouth. He turns out to be Logan's second experiment subject. Heinkel swallows the pill, and instantly feels the effects. He turns his leg towards the door, and wants to tell Logan something, but he cuts him out, telling him to go to his wife, as he will straighten things out with his father for him. Upon hearing this, Heinkel thanks him with a smile on his face, and as the force of nature he is, leaves the room for what we can assume will be one good tumble. Later we see Patrick in his study. He was the third person he experimented on, and Patrick also seems to be satisfied with the results of the medicine. As Logan turns around to look at his father's room, he introspects that he feels bad for Ranyan, as they might get another baby brother soon, and he won't be the smallest anymore. Upon seeing everything that has happened, Rick is pissed, and asks Logan why he never asked him to try the pill. After all, he went through the most hard work. Logan stares him blankly in the eyes, and then reverts his gaze to his crouch, after which he just turns around and leaves, while Rick shouts after him, "What was the meaning of that look he just gave him?" Logan stops in his tracks, with his back turned to Rick, and tells him that he wouldn't get any opportunity to use the pill anyway, so it would just be a waste of product on him. He then tells him not to follow him, as he stinks. At this point, I truly believe Logan enjoys torturing this poor bastard. Logan is then seen talking to Philip through a magic globe, and Philip acknowledges the fact that if the medicine is as effective as Logan says, it will definitely be in demand. He asks Logan how much he thinks about pricing it, and Logan says that it will be 100 gold for one pill, and 10,000 for a set of 10 pills. Phillips looks reluctant to Logan's price point, and asks if he's not taking the nobles in the capital to be pushovers, and says that he will get in trouble at this rate. Logan tells Philip that he's not, saying that he's only confident in what he is selling. That is because in his past life too, the medicine sold so much the price got ridiculously expensive. He says that if Philip supplies only a small amount through limited production, it'll sell at even higher prices. Upon hearing this, Philip says that it makes sense, as he pays for 10 more minutes for the communication channel. Logan goes on to say that he is positive that great results will be afoot if someone famous tries it and gives a testimony about it. Someone famous who needs this medicine, that is. Phillips doesn't know what to say, arguing that no noble would advertise that his impotence got better after taking the pill. Logan then says that they don't exactly need to advertise it, as there are so many ears listening in on the nobles, that even if a secret rumor spreads, they'd still come flocking like bees to flowers. And after hearing this, Philip comes up with an idea, telling Logan to go to the party in the capital. But Logan is pissed hearing this, asking Philip if he's serious about this. He thinks that the only party he has ever been to is the mercenaries' party when they've won the war, and that the family didn't even have any money to hold a party. Philip goes on to say that parties are best for making connections, though for it to be of help in business, that would take some time. And it's not like Logan could sell the medicine at the party himself, but actually this gives Logan an idea. Philip proceeds to ask Logan if he's actually thinking about doing something like that, saying that his family will be ostracized by the high society if he does that. Logan tells him that this will of course not happen if he doesn't sell it. He then tells Philip about a grand informant in the capital, and tells him to go to him and find out everything Logan needs to know. Hearing this, Philip is reluctant, asking Logan what informant is he talking about, and what is he putting him up to this time. Yet Logan only replies by saying he will come to Grand soon, and he'll tell him all the details when he gets there. Hearing this, Phillips is having a bad feeling about it. A week later, Logan has arrived in the capital city of Grandia Kingdom Grand, and Philip looks at him in disbelief that he actually came. Philip asks Logan how he got permission from his family, a son of a noble coming to the capital to sell aphrodisiacs, not a sight you would want to see. Logan assures Philip that he didn't tell his family the truth, although bringing around 3,000 boxes without a servant was a bit of an issue. Logan goes on to think that his father also sent him way easier than expected, and thinks that it's because of his feats during the war. Philip says that if he thinks about it, Logan didn't have any servants the first time they've met either, and asks him if he's sure it's okay for a noble's son to go around like this. Logan replies that having a servant with him actually makes it hard to get anywhere, Not to mention that guy has got his own work to do. Logan thinks about Rick, and the fact that he gave him quite a huge task to take care of. Logan goes on to say that even if he treats him harshly from time to time, in his past life, and in this one as well, Rick has done everything for him, and he goes on to say that he is thankful for him, but not before a picture with Rick and his monologue being shown. How Rick stole a bunch of pills from Logan, and Logan telling Rick that if he shakes him and any pills come out, he will hit Rick for each one. This is what I call tough love. Logan goes on to say that he has made up his mind, as he saw something just now. A flashback, Philip thinks. Logan says that to celebrate all the work Rick put into this, he will name the medicine Impo Rick. The best way to honor a man's legacy is to name an impotence pill after him. Bearing witness to what Logan just said, there's not a doubt in Philip's mind or mine. Logan must be a lunatic inside a dormitory. Philip tells Logan that he must be tired from the long journey, and that it would be great for him to recover from all that fatigue in a bar. Logan replies by saying he should really talk about people who can't get that up in a place where there are so many ears listening, and Philip tells him that the room is definitely a better place for a chat on that topic. Philip goes on to tell Logan that he has met with that informant Logan wanted him to see, and asks Logan if he is sure about giving him 900 gold for each document. Logan says that he is pricey indeed, but he's just as skilled too. He tells Philip that as long as he ordered correctly, they'll get the perfect information, and then Philip says that he has placed the order word by word as Logan told him. One document with the names of grand nobles who've been married in the last 10 years, yet don't have a child. Second, names of nobles who haven't taken in any second wives or lovers. And 3, names of nobles who often look for food that's good for stamina. Upon hearing this, Logan says that everything Philip said is right on the spot, and that they will be fine. He praises him for the great job, not just for this task, but for every single one he has told Philip to complete in the capital. Philip says that it wasn't that hard, and that the real crisis was the day he heard the news about the war later on. He tells Logan that he can't even imagine how worried he was, until hearing the news that the war was over by the evening. Logan looks down on a sheet of paper, happy that Philip worries for the situation of his clients. His happiness is short-lived though, as next Philip proceeds to say that when he thought about the mountain of monster meat he'd have to take care of, he couldn't even swallow food down his throat. After Earth, who the hell would buy that garbage? Pissed, Logan throws a piece of paper infused with force towards Philip, telling him to stop yapping his mouth and read it, and upon making contact with the piece of paper, he wonders why it hurts so much. Scared shitless, Philip starts reading the piece of paper while Logan asks him who on that list he thinks fits to be their first customer. With a tear falling down from his right eye, Philip seems to notice something. Logan sees this and stares at Philip, waiting for him to say something. Philip points his finger at a name on the sheet of paper and asks Logan what he thinks about a certain person. Logan takes a look at the name Philip is pointing, and suddenly his face expression changes to wonder. He recognizes that name. Later, inside a ballroom with an amazing chandelier, people are drinking Dom Perignon, and the figure of a rather large man, with a red blazer and black suit pants, is shown talking to some beautiful women. This man is Count Davis, and his name has just been reverberated by Logan to acquire his attention. The Count looks back in disbelief, with a rather disgusted or frightened look on his face. Logan goes on to make his acquaintance, stating his name, Logan McLain, and his title, the eldest son of the southwestern region of House McLain. Count Davis tries to keep his manners, and suppresses his laughter, acknowledging his new guest, and welcoming Logan to the party. Looking at Logan's outfit, he thinks that it's really tacky, and wonders what farm he came from, saying that it looks like those are the trendy clothes of the Southwest. Bro looks like a buffoon ready to do the most degrading things in existence just to be left alive. Logan goes on to think that he wore the clothes Philip recommended, and just as he thought, no one likes them, and says that these clothes were a good choice. That is because he doesn't have the time to be forming useless connections in a pointless party like that one, and that his only target is Count Davis. Fallon Davis, despite being an important figure in the treasury of the Grandia Kingdom, and having married at the age of 20, he's a pit bull man who still doesn't have a child. Logan says that he was shocked when Philip pointed him out in the name list, since in his past life he became quite famous. Not for a good reason though, but for being the Count, who offed himself because of his wife. A fight from the past between Count Davis and his wife is shown. His wife is shouting, asking him if he's done talking, calling him an impotent bastard in the middle of a party. Due to this incident, the bomb his wife threw in that party took him to death's door by his own hand. Logan says that his reputation and perception in others' eyes was just that important to him, and that anyhow, he fits all 3 conditions that he gave the informant. He is perfect to be the first customer of Impo Rick. Logan addresses the Count by telling him that he came to the capital on a business trip and heard of his prestige, so he came to give his greeting to him. The Count asks Logan what business could he possibly be conducting in the capital, as the city already has everything. He goes on to tell Logan that since he is from the outskirts, There must be fascinating goods there that are not available in the capital. This whole conversation is happening while two girls are chattering behind the Count's back. Logan is saying that he's sure that the good he is selling are not available in the capital, which is why he came here to sell it. He goes on to say that it is a specialized medicine for men. He gets right in the Count's ear and tells him that it's a sexual enhancer. And upon hearing this, the Count looks stunned. He bites his lip for a second, and then he shouts for everyone to hear. How can the son of a noble sell sexual enhancers? Two girls look at the scene, thinking how embarrassing it is. The Count thinks how a country bumpkin like Logan dare to act up in the capital, thinking that he has put him back in his place, by the looks on Logan's face that is. Yet Logan huffs deeply, and then goes to say something else to the Count. Logan goes on to tell Davis that, as a sign of courtesy, he brought a present for the influential people of the capital, and kindly asks him to accept it. He gives him a small box, and says that this is the product called Impo Rick, and it will be sold for 100 gold each. He goes on to say that he especially brought these 3 for the Count as a gift, and tells him it is a great medicine without any side effects, a fact to which he can attest to with his honor as a noble on the line. Davis hears all of this, and sheds a sweat. A few days later, Logan's doorbell rings. It appears to be a servant of Count Davis, sent to purchase more of the Impo Rick medicine. Logan and Philip greet him, acknowledging he is the Count's servant, after which he can be seen leaving with a leather briefcase, and Philip behind him, thanking him for the purchase and encouraging him to come visit them again. Philip goes back into the room and tells Logan the money, how much money they've made. 10,000 gold for 10 boxes, saying it's not bad for their first sale. Logan, however, is not as happy, saying that they have to make more than this, as even the rent for this teeny little shop costs 10,000 gold. Philip, however, says that this is to be expected since it's the center of the capital city, and Logan can't even imagine the trouble he went to, barely managing to rent it. He then goes on to say that strategically they need a shop, as seeing people gather with one's own eye has far more impact. Logan tells Philip he is right, and tells him that he'll be going for a party now. Philip doesn't seem to be happy that Logan leaves again, saying that he has been going to parties almost every day ever since he came to Grand, and that sometimes he even goes to 2 parties a day. Logan tells Philip that having Count Davis as their first customer isn't enough, and says that he should go and promote it to as many people on that list as possible. 1 week later, Count Davis' servant is walking down the street. He doesn't believe the fact that the Count asked him to purchase that medicine again, and that in the past, no healthy food had any effect on him. As he gets to the shop, he seems to be shocked. That is because there's a long ass line in front of Logan's shop of men wanting to buy the medicine. Looking at the people in line, the servant wonders why the queue is so long, and then the realization hits him. He recognizes every single one of them. One of the men in the line is the Chamberlain at the Viscount Talon, and the man in front of Jim is Count Hamel's butler. He adjusts his hat to cover as much of his face as possible, saying that this is going to create useless rumors and that he should quickly buy the medicine and leave. Just as he does that, Philip comes out of the shop to inform people waiting in line. He says he is very sorry, but unfortunately they are all out of stock prepared for today. Upon hearing this, the servants waiting to buy the medicine for their masters are shocked to the core. One guy comes to talk to Philip about the matter, and asks him what is this nonsense about being all out, as there was no mention of this before. Philip replies by saying he's sorry again, and starts explaining that Impo Rick is highly popular, but the supply isn't enough, so the sale is restricted to 50 boxes a day. 2 guys are stressed after hearing this, begging Philip to sell them some medicine, as if they return empty-handed, their lords might not be so merciful. While this is happening, another lord with his servant is walking down the street. Seeing all the fuss, the lord sends his own servant to check what is happening, and Logan is watching happily from behind a building's corner. He thinks that by limiting the supply, the customers are stimulated to buy, and seeing people gathered makes the other nobles curious. It's all going according to his plan. Regardless of the request, Philip shouts for everyone to hear that their stock for the day is all gone, and urges them to come back again tomorrow. The next day, Philip is sold out again, and the situation also continues for the 3rd day, leaving the nobles to ask how many days in a row can he be sold out. Philip goes on to say that this is amazing, as the daily sales have been all full for over a month, and that they've even sold out today as soon as they've opened up. He goes on to say that at this rate 4.5 million gold in 1 month might not be that far-fetched. Hearing this, Logan ironically asks who knew that the capital city Grand had so many impotent nobles. He says that they've increased the price by 3 times since the middle, yet there are people who would even pay extra to buy it, and that makes him worry about the future of his kingdom. After saying this, he looks up at Philip with a serious look on his face. He then smirks like a serial killer that has just found his next victim, and starts laughing so loud, his voice is heard from the outside of the shop, making people turn their heads on the street. Turns out he is just really happy. He takes Philip by the neck and starts playing with his hair, telling him he's an admirable brat, and that he did a really good job. As Philip starts to turn blue from the loss of air, he bows and tells Logan is all thanks to his efforts as well. Logan looks down on Philip and tells him that it's great he acknowledged Logan's efforts, as from next week, he will be getting 1% of the total sales for himself. Next, for some reason, Philip starts shouting that he'll give it all he has, and tries to kiss Logan. All this is happening while a mysterious figure is watching from the street. A man's witch face is covered by a hood, and his blonde beard. Next, at a witch's shop, Logan uses the communication line and shouts from the back of a room with a closed door. At least 10 tons of gold every year? Making heads turn towards his location. He quickly shuts himself up, looking at the door. He's asking the person he's talking to if he's serious, and that person turns out to be Hamar, telling Logan that this is the case, according to the miners, who are saying that there's a high chance the gold nuggets are in a deeper strata. Logan looks down on the communication globe like a madman, clenching his teeth and fists, thinking that even with a rough estimate 10 tons of gold corresponds to 100 million gold coins, going on to say that this is his jackpot, an even bigger lottery than he ever thought it was. Hamar goes on to say that the mining costs are no joke, and asks Logan if he has the means to pay for it, as it will cost a whopping 5 million gold to get started, and Logan assures Hamar that he has everything he needs. He tells Hamar to wait, saying that he will get all the money and workers needed in no time. However, Hamar doesn't really seem to care about us, and tells Logan that he'd just rather him be easy on them. Later that night, in the middle of the city, Logan is walking the streets, thinking that the initial investment costs for the mine are around 5 million gold, and if Impo Rick keeps selling as it is now, he can make around 4.5 million gold a month. He goes on to think that even if he only sells for 2 months, he'll still have plenty of money left, saying that he's got around 700 boxes of medicine left. He wants to continue his thought by saying something about going home to bring back more goods and starting the mine development, but something catches his eye, disturbing his thought. He looks towards the shop and senses someone is in there, and in an instant rushes towards his shop, thinking there might be thieves. He pushes the door violently against the wall and starts looking around, but it seems like the room is empty. Logan takes his sword in hand and thinks if the perpetrators might have disappeared, but he reminds himself there is only one door, therefore he must still be inside. Just as he thinks that, a cloak is passing behind him, which Logan notices a second too late, and swings his sword in the direction of the cloaked figure, but misses, while he shouts, asking for their identity. When turning around, there is no one in sight, and Logan remains still with his sword pointed towards nothing. He goes on to think this is impossible, as he definitely senses someone there. Once again he gets that feeling. He turns his head up, and asks himself if the thief is on the roof. He takes a leap, jumping towards the roof, aiming for the cloaked figure. He readies his sword, and is prepared to pierce the thief, but he moves at the last second. Logan is staring at the thief on the roof, with his sword in one hand, prepared to strike once again. Bro looks like a dementor. I wouldn't fight that guy for any pill. Logan once again asks for the man's identity, but he doesn't get a reply. Instead, the man just disappears instantly, without leaving even a trace behind. Logan is stunned to see what just happened. He goes on to think that there is no sign of any presence at all, yet he was right in front of him just now. He looks down at his hand, realizing he got a piece of the man's cloak, and asks himself what the hell just happened. Next morning, it appears that Logan has told Philip what happened, and it appears that they have come to the conclusion that it was an aura user thief that snuck into their shop. Logan says that he is just speculating, but he was at least an advanced force user, a term meant to describe those even more powerful than high-ranking knights. Logan goes on to say that it wasn't simply a feeling that he was a high-ranking knight, but he was on a completely different level. Philip is stunned to hear someone that can use aura is doing petty theft, saying that aura is enough to turn even a slave into a noble, and asks why would a person like that go around doing petty thievery. Philip asks what the men stole, and Logan says it's precisely what Phillips thinks the men stole. Just 2 pills of the Impo Rick medicine, that is all. After hearing this, Philip concludes that if he only stole 2 of the pills, it must have been that he wasn't after any money. Instead, he stole the pills just so he could use it for himself. Philip then asks if there are impotent people among aura users as well, and that is when realization strikes Logan. He tells Philip that he's right, and asks him if there was any name of an aura user on the list from the informer, but Philip tells him there wasn't any name, as the informant asked for extra charges for the information, as it was top secret, so Philip declined the offer. But thinking about it, there might be one person that comes to his mind, an aura user in the capital who doesn't have a descendant. A noble, muscular, well-dressed man with blonde hair and beard is walking the streets with his wife, looking at some kids playing. His face is kind, and his pale blue eyes appear to be filled with desire for a child. Yet he is startled when his wife asks him what he's looking at. He turns around and tells his wife he was just appreciating the scenery outside for a bit. He is sweating all over as his wife doesn't seem to buy this lame response. She asks him if he was looking at the kids again. He tries to tell her that he was just enjoying the scenery and that he doesn't think about useless stuff like that. He then proceeds to hug his wife and tell her that they should head back home. However, his wife doesn't really mind what he's saying and tells him that she is really happy to have met him and asks him if he is aware of that. The man looks down at his wife with happiness in his eyes and a slight smile in the corner of his mustache. He then hugs her tighter and tells her that he feels the same. This man is the kingdom's best swordsman, Felix Esperanza. It turns out that the deep-rooted sadness and regret in his heart has all started with an unjust injury he suffered as a young man. While fighting for his country, he suffered an injury between his legs of all places. It was just an honorable wound for a knight who was wounded in the line of duty, and as a young man, he didn't think much of it. However, Felix goes on to think, what is the point of having the title of a duke and being known as the strongest in the whole nation without having a child to take over after him? For him, it appears to all be in vain. A scene from the past is shown. Felix is explaining the situation to his wife that is much more appreciative and sympathetic to the situation than Felix probably anticipated, as he looks shocked. His wife acknowledges the fact that he must have been in agony and asks Felix that if he is okay with this, she would want to serve by his side, all of this while crying crocodile tears. Seeing this, Felix thinks if there is any way for him to repay the overwhelming love that he's received. Next, Felix and one of the servants are walking down a path on what we can assume are the castle's grounds. The servant is telling him that the time of the family meeting is just around the corner and asks him if he is sure it's okay not to rush, to which Felix replies that there is no point in being early, as all that is going to happen is him being pressured to have an heir. His servant reluctantly looks towards Felix, not sure about what he is going to say. He then goes on to tell Felix that he is being very careful while saying this. But recently, a very effective medicine has been circulating in the capital. Hearing this, Felix ironically asks about that being the case, and his servant continues to say that apparently it even heals physical wounds as well. Once again, Felix doesn't pay much attention to it, and the servant goes on to say that he knows he doesn't believe in this, but there's a lot of word of its users having had great effects. Hearing this, Felix puts his head down, ashamed to admit to himself that he has already tried the medicine, and by stealing it at that. Even if his wife's tears bothered him, he can't believe he went around committing thievery, an embarrassment to all the discipline he has maintained. Not to mention that after taking that medicine, nothing happened anyway. Felix tells Luis, his servant, that he should take rumors with a grain of salt. He then goes on to think that what he said is completely right, that medicine working is a simple fake rumor, and there is no way that medicine can fix something that even Aura couldn't, and thinks that he should give up by now. At the gates of the estate, Logan is talking to a guard, which tells him that he cannot let him meet with Felix without an appointment. Logan only asks for the guard to tell Felix his name, as he is sure he will definitely meet with him after hearing who is looking for him. Before this event though, it seems that Logan and Philip talked it out, and Philip was amazed, asking if Logan was really going to personally visit the Duke. Logan replies affirmatively, and Philip is mocking Logan, asking if he will be going to the strongest man in the kingdom, and ask him if he stole from him, or if he is impotent. Philip shits his pants and asks if this is Logan's plan, yet Logan calmly asks Philip if he's mimicking him. Philip tells Logan that he should just act like nothing happened, otherwise he is just asking for trouble, saying that if things go wrong, they are screwed. In a hallway, seated on a chair, Logan is thinking that Philip is not wrong, but if the person yesterday really was the Sword Duke, he can't let this opportunity go to waste. A butler comes out of a room, opening the beautiful massive wooden door. He then tells Logan to proceed inside the room, where Felix is waiting near the window, behind his desk. As he is approaching the Sword Duke, Logan thinks this is the opportunity to form a positive connection with one of the strongest people of the kingdom. Logan gracefully greets the Duke, stating his name, and saying that he is the oldest son of the House of McLain. Logan looks up at the Duke and realizes something. Even though his age is around 70, he looks so much younger, and thinks that he must be repressing his aging using his strong aura. The Duke acknowledges that the House of McLain is in the southwest region, and asks why Logan has come so far from home. Logan thinks there's no need to bring up the reason right away, and instead he says that he has recently started a business in the capital, and so he brought the goods here as a present. Logan slides a small box across the table to the Duke, and says that it's an excellent medicine for men, and it has proven effective for countless nobles. The Duke is looking down to the box, asking if this is really the case, without giving any hint that he knows about it, or that he is impressed. Logan keeps his head down and thinks that this is confusing him, not knowing for sure if he was actually the thief from yesterday, and so he decides to proceed to the next level. He goes on to say that a superhuman like Felix wouldn't need stuff like this, and that is why he has brought something more special, making Felix draw a small gesture on his face. Logan is happy to see this, as the reason he was disinterested at first is because he didn't see any effect after using Impo-Rick. As in the current Impo-Rick, the poison in the monster meat is neutralized for consumption as an aphrodisiac and treatment for dysfunction. But that trivial poison has no effect on the body of a superhuman like Felix. So he concentrated that poison over and over, creating a potent concentrate. He tells Felix that it's a limited edition Impo-Rick, and that seems to stir the interest in Felix. Logan goes on to think that he is calling it a limited edition, but in reality, it's just 50 Impo-Rick pills concentrated into one. After experiencing the power himself, Logan says that he can guarantee its effect, since that gut-wrenching pain alone could kill a regular human without a force core. But if an aura user takes it, the situation is really different. Logan tells Felix that if the pill is up to his satisfaction after using it, he will please to hear from him, and he'll ready another supply of however many pills Felix wants, and that he will of course be meticulous with the confidentiality measures. The next day, Felix is extremely happy, sign that the pill has properly worked, and he tells Logan that he will grant him any favor in his power. Seeing this, Logan is exploding with happiness inside, yet he manages to keep respectable and say that he doesn't understand what the Duke means by that. Logan Than goes on to explain that an aura user is the master of martial arts that moves the body, and the faster of force, the life energy. So Felix could know it with certainty. The medicine worked perfectly, not just as a one-time thing, but after 30 uses, the medicine's effect will accumulate and he can completely recover. His longest yearning and the pain in his chest may now be eased. Felix looks at Logan and says that he can't believe he was so considerate that he brought him a gift and didn't even mention his mistake, and also says that his sword skills that day were unbelievable for someone of his age, and therefore he is definitely someone you'd expect to be the owner of this miracle drug. He genuinely thinks this psycho-killer mastermind is impressive. Poor Felix has gone so long without getting any that he has lost his mind. Felix tells Logan that he might have been in a rush when talking, and says that he sees the possibility of being cured of a chronic illness thanks to Logan's gift, so he'd like to repay him for that, and then asks Logan once again what he wishes for. Logan stares with a cold gaze towards the ground, and states that in that case, he would want a useless book on swordsmanship. Felix looks through his library and picks up a book for Logan, saying that training in only the areas stated by the book will hurt his body, but it's worth a read since it has a few eccentric points. After this, Logan thanks Felix and asks one more service of him, to write a letter as proof that he has got the book from him, to which Felix says that this will not be a problem. Logan thinks that he now has what he needs, and says that it's a shame he's only taking a book on swordsmanship from the Duke when he's ready to give him anything, but his actual goal is something else anyway. Just as Logan is finishing his thought, Felix talks, and says that he has thought about it, and this situation doesn't feel right. Logan asks what he means by that, and Felix says that he will personally teach Logan a sword technique, leaving him astounded. The greatest swordsman of the kingdom will teach him. Felix goes on to say that he understands Logan's desire to be humble and not desire much, but giving him just a low-grade swordsmanship book won't put him at ease. Logan thinks that even if he has the divine sword secrets, he doesn't need to refuse when the kingdom's strongest man is offering such, and so he ecstatically thanks Felix for the opportunity, thinking that he has hit the jackpot once again. On the Duke's training grounds, Felix and Logan are staying face to face, and Felix says that judging the talent of remarkable young talents is one of the pleasures of an old man. He then tells Logan to focus, as he won't be nice while teaching this, and upon hearing this, Logan readies his stance. Felix tells Logan to draw his sword, but he is overwhelmed by Felix's aura. A huge force is pressing down on his body, to the point where he can't even grab his sword. This is what a true aura user looks like. Logan asks himself if all aura users can do this, the skill to restrain the whole body using force like magic. If that was true, all battles would end with aura users fighting each other. Logan says that is not simply force, but rather, this has to be a special skill, he thinks, as he finally manages to draw his sword a little. Logan says he has to use the force to boost the senses and not the body, and then analyze this force that's restraining him. Every time he tries moving the Duke's force stimulating its starting point, therefore he is scattering the strength he puts into the move. Logan thinks that he doesn't understand how such a thing is possible, but he knows how to deal with it, thinking that when Felix is about to scatter his strength, he has to move half a beat faster, thinks Logan, just as he gets into a proper fighting stance with his sword fully drawn. Felix is looking at Logan and says that just as he taught, he is talented. Logan is sweating like a pig, barely standing up, and Felix is telling him to look carefully at what he is doing. He appears to be concentrating his aura at the tip of his blade, preparing an aura blade attack. As Logan tries to withstand overwhelming presence, Logan is scared shitless, as looking up he realizes what he is up against, Felix Esperanza's Force Blade. Logan is looking forward, acknowledging the Force Blade is coming towards him. However, he seems to have one very serious problem. Felix's aura is too strong for him to withstand. He thinks that the Duke's force is forcing itself onto his body, therefore disturbing his senses, and that Red Blade's force is becoming even stronger. He looks forward in despair, wondering if there's anything he can even do about it. Suddenly, he realizes something. Logan's force is neutralizing the Duke's force on its own. He introspects how his intuition is telling him that he cannot dodge this attack, but there might be another way. Logan conjures the force inside his body, shaping it into the form of a protection circle around him. Seeing this, Felix remains stunned, wondering if Logan is really going to use force in the face of Felix's attack. He goes on to take an aggressive stance, with the sword behind his back, charged with force, prepared to strike Logan down. He takes one step forward, and leaps towards Logan with a killer sight in his eyes. Logan, holding his defensive stance with his blade forward and surrounded by his protective aura, feels a surge of fear as he faces the imminent assault. Just as expected, Felix's attack connects, and sends Logan back flying. Logan hits the wall behind him, and even his sword appears to have taken some damage. Felix, however, doesn't seem to even break a sweat. He is calm and composed, looking towards Logan with a cold gaze. Using his sword as a cane, Logan tries to push himself up, but he is still trembling due to Felix's powerful attack. His sword is shattered, and he can only think about what happened, about Felix's aura blade. Felix turns to Logan and asks if he really thought he'd teach him something he couldn't figure out on his own. He then reveals that he saw everything, and points out that without even realizing it, Logan got serious toward the end. With a proud look, Felix praises Logan, marveling at how he faced the attack head-on, thinking that some are just destined to excel. As Logan faints, Felix remarks that it's going to be fun watching him grow even stronger. Sometime later, Felix's butler asks Logan if he's already leaving. He goes on to say that the Duke said he is welcome to stay until he is fully recovered, so there is no rush in him leaving. To which Logan replies that he is okay, and that thanks to the potion the Duke gave him, he is completely fine. Hearing this, the butler tells Logan that he will be escorting him to the door. Outside, the butler wishes Logan a safe journey, and Logan thanks him for showing him out. After that, he quickly leaves, rushing away from the butler's sight. Seeing this, the butler wonders where Logan disappeared so quickly. It turns out that Logan turned a corner and is still hurting after Felix's attack, saying that the pain is killing him. He says that however much it hurts, he couldn't just use an expensive potion for a facile wound like that, and that he can't believe he would hand over a superior grade potion that is basically unfindable, like it's nothing. Logan goes on to say that his force evolved all this time so he can heal the internal wounds himself, but the wounds that the Duke inflicted on him are going to be hard to deal with after all. He then looks at the potion and says that whatever the case may be, he still gained more than he lost. Logan then proceeds to take out a note from Felix, stating the coordinates of the communication channel of his mansion, and that if Logan ever faces any trouble while learning the skill of the Force Blade, he can get in touch with him. Logan is happy, wondering who would have thought that Felix would think so positively of him. Logan thinks that Felix is practically treating him like a disciple, so this relationship is going to prove greatly beneficial later on. Just as he says that, Philip appears from behind, taking Logan completely by surprise. Logan turns his head around, asking Philip what he's doing there, to which Philip replies that he was at a distance, waiting for Logan to come out. Then he goes on to ask Logan why he looks so pale. Philip, concerned, yells at Logan, asking if he didn't by any chance do something rude in order to infuriate the Duke, to which Logan replies that it's quite the opposite, as he just got a little swordsmanship lesson from the Duke. Logan then cuffs, and blood comes out of his mouth, which scares Philip shitless. Seeing this, Philip says that he will make preparations for them to run away, and that he will get the fastest horses. Logan tries to tell Philip that he misunderstands the situation, but Philip just keeps on mumbling. A week later, at Logan and Philip's store, a sign on the door reads that Impo Rick is currently out of stock, asking customers to check back later. Inside, Logan appears with a majestic gaze, announcing that the total profits from selling Impo Rick have reached a staggering 4.1 million gold. Philip, impressed, responds that if sales continue at this rate, surpassing 4.5 million gold in a month won't be hard either. They exchange confident glances, fully aware of their success, and share a joyful cheer that echoes outside the shop. However, the celebration is short-lived, as Logan, ever serious, asks Philip if he's so pleased that he won't need a bonus this month. Philip, quickly snapping back to reality, pleads with Logan not to ruin his daydreams. Philip then mentions that he ensured the monster meat he purchased in Kale would be handled smoothly, and Logan commends him for a job well done. Philip then suggests that Logan consider buying a house in the capital to offset the costs of lodging, noting the savings it could bring. Logan, however, dismisses the idea, explaining that they'll only be staying in the capital for another year and a half. so there's no point in making such a commitment. He advises Philip to focus on Impo Rick for now, adding that they'll have to move elsewhere eventually, even if they don't want to. When Philip asks what Logan means by that, Logan simply replies that it's something Philip doesn't need to worry about. Lastly, Philip asks Logan to take care of his health for the smooth running of the business, as he was shocked to see him cough up blood, to which Logan replies by saying that's why he stayed shut inside his room for a whole week. Hearing this, Philip asks Logan if he was really focusing on his recovery during that time, as every time he came in the room, he saw Logan at the desk doing something. But once again, Logan tells him that this is another thing he doesn't need to worry about. Philip tells Logan that he has too many secrets, yet Logan is happy that despite the fact that Philip is grumbling about it, he is not further inquiring in the matter. As if it were to be Rick the one hearing about this, he would have definitely gotten to the bottom of his secrets. Philip goes on to ask Logan if he's returning home now, to which Logan replies affirmatively, telling Philip to make sure he calms the customers down until he sends him more Impo Rick from home. And besides that, Logan has to tell Philip one more thing. He instructs him to send food rations worth 100,000 gold each month to Tesseron and McLain estates. And hearing this, Philip is stunned. He asks Logan if he plans on feeding the whole region with this much food, to which Logan replies by saying that's enough mumbling, and that they need to do that for a whole year, so Philip should start looking for a vendor. Philip realizes Logan is serious about this, and says that he didn't realize Logan cherishes his people so much. However, this doesn't seem to be the case. As Logan is about to leave the room, he thinks that he doesn't cherish his people, but this is just what he needs to do. This is because it's going to take at least a year for McLain's chronic food shortage to be solved. Even with the Tesseron plains in his hands, with McLain's infertile land, it's going to be a minus as always. He says that people's labor is a huge part of his plan, so he can't have them starving. Logan prepares to leave the room and casually tells Philip that he has work to attend to, so he'll be heading out. Philip, however, doesn't bother asking for details, knowing all too well that it's just another one of Logan's secrets. Elsewhere, a group of impoverished people huddle on the cold concrete floor of what appears to be a storage room, using whatever scraps they can find to keep warm. One man, bleeding from his cheek, stares down at the floor with a sorrowful expression. Meanwhile, Logan stands inside a magic shop, handing a piece of paper to a sorcerer. The sorcerer, glancing at the paper, asks if Logan truly intends to find the people listed. He hesitates, explaining that with only names, a few distinct features, and no idea where they live, the task would require searching the entire continent. Logan, unfazed, asks the sorcerer whether he can do it or not, adding that he will generously compensate him for the effort. The sorcerer, sweating and unsure, looks down at the paper again. After a tense pause, he reluctantly agrees to take on the job. As Logan leaves, he reflects that, as expected, it's likely going to be difficult to track them down. After all, even the names he has might be fake. Yet Logan knows he has no other choice. He must gather all the independent superhumans at any cost, those who reached the superhuman stage in his past life but never joined any organizations. Each one of them will be a crucial ally in the coming war against the Empire, especially one particular mercenary who once fought for the Empire. As he walks, Logan suddenly stops, exhales deeply, and realizes he's been rushing things. With everything progressing well in the capital, he's been moving too quickly. He glances peacefully at the sky and reminds himself that he has enough time. He can afford to go slowly. However, Logan's belief that he has enough time might not hold true. In a dark, dungeon-like room, a man tries to calm down a furious elder chief. The elder is livid, ranting about someone mistreating his disciples and demanding to know if the man has any other workers, specifically mentioning some tower master. The man explains that he's only there to relay information, but the elder doesn't care. His rage remains unchecked. The elder then asks why his disciple was summoned this time. The man replies that the disciple has been sent to the countryside, to the far southwest, to the McLain region, for a 6-month business trip. Upon hearing this, the elder places a heavy hand on the man's shoulder and declares that he won't let this magic tower master get away with it. This time he insists, the matter must be dealt with once and for all. Next, we are introduced to the grand site of the Earth Magic Tower in the Kingdom of Grandia. Inside, a man approaches a desk where another man is fast asleep. The approaching man greets him, and the sleepy clerk squints, raising his eyes to see who it is. As soon as he recognizes the visitor, he stands up cheerfully and offers a warm welcome. Curious about the man before him, the clerk can't help but wonder what his deal is. At first, he had assumed the man was a noble, but seeing him now in a cheap suit, the clerk begins to doubt his initial impression. The man in question is indeed Logan, who has come to the tower to research magic scrolls. Watching him, the clerk behind the desk assumes there's no way Logan is here to meet their high-ranking mage. Instead, he expects Logan to purchase a few basic scrolls, likely similar to one another. With a smile, The clerk listens as Logan requests 150 destruction magic scrolls, which momentarily surprises him. However, Logan's expression remains stone cold. Logan then presents his account certificate from Cooper's bank and tells the clerk to take a look. As the clerk begins counting the funds, his disbelief grows. The total adds up to an astonishing 4 million gold, leaving him completely stunned. He looks down, visibly shaken, unsure of how to respond, but finally stammers out an offer to personally escort Logan upstairs. Logan listens calmly, acknowledging the offer. Destruction magic, a fourth circle earth-type range spell, has the potential to bring down rock walls depending on the caster's skill. However, due to its drawbacks, slow activation time, obvious signs of use, and limited effectiveness on only rock and dirt, it was rarely used in combat. Despite these limitations, Logan sees its potential in construction. He believes it could greatly accelerate mind development and address other issues he's facing. Logan is now speaking to an older man who asks him if he really wants to buy 150 scrolls, and Logan replies affirmatively. The man, Radio's great, is the master of the Earth Magic Tower, and he admits he's a bit nervous since they haven't had such a generous customer in a long time. Logan recalls how, just a few minutes earlier, the master had rushed over when he heard Logan wanted to buy 155 scrolls, an unusual reaction for someone of his rank. It turns out Radio's is a 5th-generation Magic Tower master, but only possesses 1.5 million golds, indicating the tower's bad financial situation. Logan reflects that the master's vulnerability works to his advantage. He then tells Radios that his own house McLain is just a small fief in the southwest, understanding if the master hadn't heard of them. Upon hearing this, the master apologizes to Logan, acknowledging that it seems his young trainee made a mistake. He assures Logan that he will give the trainee a strict scolding. However, Logan waves it off, saying it's unnecessary and not a big deal, to which the master replies by telling Logan that he is very generous. All of this while the guy at the counter thinks he is done for. The master, though, seems to be really annoyed by the whole situation, as he almost missed out on a pushover like Logan because of that trainee. Despite Logan's reassurance, the master silently reflects on the situation. In these peaceful times, earth magic is primarily useful for farming or soil construction, so he wonders what kind of noble would spend so much on expensive scrolls for something so mundane. Frustrated, he thinks to himself about the ignorant fools who gossip, claiming the magic tower has grown weaker since he became its master. He also seems to have diminished the tower's budget quicker than he had to. The master, assessing the situation, thinks to himself that it's fortunate Logan seems like an easy target. He decides he needs to handle Logan carefully and try to extract a large sum of money from him. With that in mind, the master tells Logan that, to be honest, there might be an issue with fulfilling his request. Curious, Logan asks what the problem is. The master explains that, as Logan may know, crafting a 4-the-circle scroll requires the leadership of at least a 5-the-circle mage. Unfortunately, the tower is currently lacking in high-ranking manpower, making it difficult to produce the scrolls at the scale Logan is requesting. However, Logan remains unfazed by the master's explanation, showing little interest in the details. He simply looks at the master and bluntly asks him what he's going to do about it. The master glances back at Logan, surprised by his lack of reaction. This wasn't the response he had anticipated, but he decides to press on and test the waters anyway, hoping to gauge how far he can push Logan. The master continues, explaining that, as Logan might be aware, the per-unit cost of crafting a scroll is quite high, making it impossible to produce them in advance. Upon hearing this, Logan calmly stands up from his chair and tells the master that it's too bad there's nothing that can be done about it. As Logan heads toward the door, he informs the master that he had intended to purchase 150 scrolls every month. However, if the tower cannot even produce that many in an indefinite time frame, he will take his business to the royal family's magic tower. Hearing this, the master panics and leaps in front of Logan to block his path. Desperate to retain Logan's business, the master asks if Logan really plans to buy 150 scrolls every month. Logan confirms this and adds that over the next 6 months, he will need a total of 900 scrolls. Upon hearing this, the master looks as though he has been transported to the 9th circle of heaven. He gazes at Logan with awe, as if he has seen an angel. Logan then remarks that if producing 150 scrolls at once is too much for them, handling an order for 6 months' worth would be an even greater challenge. Just as Logan is about to leave through the door, the master makes a dramatic move, throwing himself onto the floor and grabbing onto Logan's boot. He desperately shouts that they will take care of the order. As this happens, Logan asks the master if he thinks his order is possible, to which he replies that it's 100% doable, all while dusting off Logan's shoes with his robe. The master continues, informing Logan that each 4-the-circle scroll costs 10,000 gold. Therefore, 150 scrolls would total 1.5 million gold. As he processes this, The master's eyes light up with greed, his pupils turning into gold G's, and his face transforms into a picture of avarice. He quickly realizes that with Logan's planned purchases, he stands to make over 9 million gold in the next 6 months. After finishing his dramatic display of enthusiasm, the master stands up and proposes an alternative to Logan. He acknowledges that the 9 million gold is a tempting sum, but suggests that hiring a mage might be a better option than continuously buying scrolls. Confused, Logan asks which mage the master is referring to. Logan reflects that aloof mages usually prefer to avoid dirty work, opting to sell scrolls instead, and wonders why the master would suggest lending him a mage, who would be even more expensive. He considers that with a fourth of Circle Mage, he could achieve the effect of 300 scrolls each month. He then asks the master if they have a fourth of Circle Mage willing to work at a construction site in a rural area. The master responds, clarifying that there may have been a misunderstanding. He explains that not even he has the authority to command a fourth of Circle Mage as he pleases, which Logan had anticipated. Instead, the master offers to deploy 9 2N Circle Mages and 1 3 RD Circle Mage. He explains that these mages are disciples who have extensive experience working in teams at various construction sites. In return, the master requests that Logan reduce the number of scrolls. Logan considers this offer and thinks it might be a good deal. Given the long-term nature of the construction work, deploying a team of mages could be more beneficial than hiring a single for the Circle Mage. However, Logan is reluctant in hiring mages specialized in construction, wondering what kind of people they are. Suddenly, a group of worn-out and battered men appears before Logan, led by the 3 RD Circle Mage named Grick. These guys look like they've just came back from war. Stunned by the condition of the men, Logan struggles to find his words. Just then, the master interrupts, telling the group that now that the formalities are over, they can return to their quarters. The men quickly flee, visibly frightened, leaving Logan bewildered and wondering what just transpired. Infuriated, Logan turns towards the master and tells him that they look like they are about to pass out. The master responds, acknowledging their disheveled appearance but assuring Logan that they are young personnel with the most construction experience in the Magic Tower. They are specialists in their field. Logan reflects on the master's words and thinks that, despite their appearance, the mages seemed quite capable when he roughly assessed them with his senses. With a 3 RD Circle Master and several 2 End Circle experts among them, and all in their 20s, they represent promising talent regardless of their condition. Despite the success, Logan remains suspicious. He doesn't fully trust that the master will actually send his disciples to the countryside as promised, and wonders if he should somehow test the master. Logan confronts the master, saying that even if he follows through on his promises, the scrolls are of a higher grade, which reduces the overall count. He adds that swapping out second circle mages in exchange doesn't seem like a fair deal, and the master responds, assuring Logan that the team of 10 mages should be sufficient, especially with a third circle mage leading them. He insists that their combined abilities will more than make up for any reduction in the scroll count. Upon hearing the master's response, Logan once again flashes his signature killer smile. Every time he puts on that expression, it sends a chill through my spine, and I remember the guy is still a psycho. Logan, still smiling, begins to negotiate with the master. He proposes that for 120 destruction magic scrolls and the deployment of 10 mages, the price should be set at 1.2 million gold per month. The master tries to keep his calm upon hearing Logan's decision, but he is visibly struck by what he just said. Logan then goes on to think that this is a dirt price considering the talent of those mages, and that he wouldn't send any normal mages at that price. Not that Logan would mind if it works. However, he is still stunned to hear the master agreeing to the price Logan set. The master then pulls out a contract and urges Logan to sign it right away, so as not to lose the opportunity. Logan looks down at the piece of paper and wonders how could someone actually agree to those terms, and in such a rush nonetheless, as not even the ink had time to dry on the page. Just as Logan thinks that something is off, the Elder Chief comes bursting through the door behind Logan, while 2 of the disciples hold on to him. The Elder Chief tells the master that he has heard everything he has been doing with his disciples, and that they will have a chat right there and then. While the disciples try to stop the Elder Chief, begging him not to do whatever he is about to, Clayton just rushes forward, like an unstoppable force of nature. Logan turns his head around to see what the whole fuss is about, and he is amazed by his sight. The Elder Chief, a 5 the Circle Mage, is visibly furious and confronts the master, demanding to know if he's sending his disciple off again. The master responds, asserting that everything he does is for the benefit of the tower, and that his disciples are the most talented available. The Elder Chief then questions why only his disciples seem to be assigned to the tough tasks. The Elder Chief, still fuming, points out that the master is not just sending any disciples, but rather young ones who have just returned from previous assignments. The master responds by reiterating that the young are capable of enduring hardships and emphasizes that all his decisions are made with the well-being of the tower in mind. The elder accuses the master of mistreating his disciples ever since Clayton became an elder and a 5 the Circle mage last year. The master, however, dismisses the complaint, claiming that Clayton has lost his sanity and that such behavior is unacceptable, especially with guests in the tower. As Logan observes the scene, he begins to understand the underlying dynamics. Clayton, having advanced to the 5th circle and becoming an elder at a young age, seems to be a source of threat for the tower master, and in order to undermine Clayton, the master is taking out his frustrations on the young disciples. Despite the tension, Logan remains indifferent to the internal conflict. He's simply pleased that the discord within the tower is working to his advantage. The tower master then turns to Clayton and coldly declares that if Clayton is unwilling to follow his orders, he doesn't care about their fate. He tells Clayton and his disciples that they can leave immediately if they wish, and the elder asks if he is serious with this comment. Upon hearing the tower master's ultimatum, Clayton begins to channel his magical powers, clearly ready for a confrontation. Despite the impending clash, the old man remains unfazed and calmly asks Clayton if he truly wants to go through with a fight, while at the same time also charging his own magic. The earth around them starts to shake, and objects are almost falling apart in the room. One of the disciples acknowledges the danger of the situation and says that they need to stop those two. Clayton then shouts at the tower master, telling him that he'd better be ready for what's coming, while the tower master just looks at Clayton, taking his fight stance. Out of nowhere, Logan a hand bangs the table with a stamp. Their attention is drawn towards Logan, who doesn't seem to care even the slightest about their confrontation. The two remain stunned at what Logan is doing, and the young disciples are also amazed by what just happened. Logan shows the other man the piece of paper he just stamped. It's the contract he was going to sign with the tower master, now completed. He then simply tells the 10 people waiting in the room to follow him, and also addresses Clayton and the tower master. He tells them to sort it out themselves, and that the contract is still valid even if the magic tower master changes, so there will be no issue with the business. The tower master acknowledges how they have shown a pathetic side of themselves in front of their guest, and tells Logan that he will send the scrolls his way as soon as they are done. Yet Clayton tells him that he isn't done talking to him yet. The master asks Clayton if he's saying that he will force the official contract of the Earth Magic Tower right now, and scolds him, telling him to know his place. Clayton then proceeds to tell the master that if he's going to ask this way, then his decision is final. Clayton will follow his disciples as well. Both Logan and the tower master look amazed at Clayton. The master then says Clayton must be mad. An elder following his disciples to a construction site is unheard of to this day, and Logan shouts that he has never hired a 5th circle mage. To this, Clayton replies by saying he doesn't want Logan to pay him separately. He only plans to cooperate with him to help his disciples and get the work done sooner. And upon hearing this, Logan bows before the elder and says that he shall serve him devotedly. All Clayton asks is that Logan will postpone his disciples' dispatch by a day, for they need to recover before they leave again, and Logan gracefully agrees to the request and tells Clayton to meet him tomorrow at noon at the west gate. The next day, a carriage is seen leaving through the tower's gate. Logan stands outside, leaning against a wall with a backpack slung over his shoulder, waiting for Clayton and the others. As he waits, he reflects on how yesterday's contract turned into an unexpected jackpot. Hiring a 5 the Circle mage through a standard contract would have cost him 1 million gold alone, yet he secured much more for far less. Logan thinks about how he wants to return to his home territory as soon as possible. He needs to send more Impo-Rick to the capital and take care of some other matters. However, his thoughts are interrupted when someone calls out his name. The person calling Logan's name turns out to be Rena, who acknowledges that quite some time has passed since they last saw each other. As Logan greets her casually by name, Rena points out that they weren't close enough for such familiarity, calling the situation a bit embarrassing. Logan, understanding what she means, quickly corrects himself and addresses her more formally as Princess Wolves, adding that indeed, it's been far too long since they've met, also saying that she's simply being rude as always. Rena looks down at Logan from her luxurious carriage, while holding a fan to cover half of her ugly ass face. She says that there have been rumors circulating in the capital, and that she's heard Logan was getting into some quite an embarrassing business these days, and asks if the House of McLain is facing troubles by any chance. What she actually means, though, is to ask if his family finally went under, and if Logan isn't embarrassed to walk around looking like a poor person. Logan, keeping his cool, replies graciously that, as Rena might be aware, he is quite ambitious when it comes to making money, and that his family's situation is nothing for her to worry about. Of course, what he really means by this nicely arranged words is that his family situation is none of her fucking business, and she should just stop bothering him and go her way. Once again, Rena steps on Logan's nerves and says that she knows the amount of money she gave him when they broke off the engagement wasn't that small, Yet, this is probably normal for a barren fief like Logan's. I swear I would slap her just for fun. Logan, eager to get rid of Rina as quickly as possible, agrees with her comment and attempts to walk in the other direction, making a dismissive remark about her being so filthy that he'd rather avoid her. However, just as he's about to leave, Rina stops him by mentioning that she's heard about his impressive feat in the feudal war, where he used a special weapon. She then asks how he would feel about selling it to her. Trying to remain polite but wanting to escape the conversation, Logan downplays the weapon's significance, saying it's not that great, and though he's embarrassed to refuse her offer, he will have to decline. Logan then basically runs away from Rina's carriage, which seems like the best he could do in this situation, and Rina looks at him disgusted from the window of her carriage. As he walks away from the gate, Logan thinks how even after he got famous in the capital for selling the Impo-Rick medicine, not a single noble showed any interest in the feudal war in the countryside. But Rina, no, rather the wolves, are too invested in, and says that this is quick, even for a relation with history. He thinks that the structure of the crossbow that he's made is quite simple, so can only hope to use it a couple more times before the blueprints get out in the open, and it's going to be built by everyone. This is when a voice interrupts Logan's thoughts. This is Clayton and his disciples, which tells Logan that he thought they would meet at the western gate, and asks Logan what is he doing coming their way. Logan starts pushing Clayton and the others the way he wants to go, and tells Clayton that he ran into someone annoying earlier, that being the reason for which he was walking towards them. 3 carriages are then seen making their way through the woods. Of course, Logan is riding with Clayton and one of his disciples, and Clayton seems to be mad about something. Clayton turns his head around to look at Logan, and says that this carriage is big enough to carry at least 5 or 6 people, and that the coachmen seem pretty experienced as well. Therefore, Logan must have spent quite a lot for their comfort. Clayton then gets grumpy, telling Logan that he didn't have to bother with all his doing, and that he spent all this money for nothing, while his disciple tries to keep him in check. Hearing this, Logan looks at Clayton, and thinks that this wouldn't be the first time a mage has a high sense of pride. He then tells Clayton that he is honored to attend to such great mages, so everything he does is just basic, while thinking that he's hired a 5th circle mage for free, so buttering him up is no big deal. However, Clayton doesn't reply to this. Instead, he just looks out the window and keeps acting grumpy. After the night has fallen, Logan and the others seem to have set camp in a clearing in the woods, and Logan says that it's pretty late to travel now, so they will rest there for the night and continue towards their destination tomorrow. After this, Logan sets up a campfire and starts to meditate. Out of nowhere, a man holding a knife appears, and he seems prepared to strike. He throws his knife at Logan, but he senses it and lowers his head in order to dodge it. And then, without breaking his meditative state, he asks who is there. One of the men gets out of the shadows and praises Logan for the way he dodged that, saying that it's pretty impressive for a young master. Logan gets up, and the man goes on to say that he's heard all the rumors about him in the capital, and asks Logan if he isn't the one that gathered a ton of cash by selling some strange drug. Logan is surrounded by 5 men, and he is wondering if they might be thieves. He annoyedly huffs, and tells the man that all he wanted was to practice what he last learned by meditating freely. Yet this is the perfect opportunity since they interrupted him. He then grabs his sword and tells the bandits that they will have to act as his practice partners to pay for the intrusion. One of the bandits scoffs at Logan, laughing and mocking him, asking what nonsense he's rambling about. Logan, unfazed by the taunts, remains silent. Without hesitation, he swiftly slashes the bandit's throat, ending the man's laughter in an instant. 2 of the men look down at their companion and can't understand how Logan moved so fast and call him a bastard. One of them then jumps to attack Logan. Seeing this, Logan takes an aggressive stance and prepares to strike. Just as the bandit gets close to Logan, prepared to drive his knife through him, Logan dodges and slashes his gut in one swift motion, and also sends him flying through the air. Seeing this, the other bandits lose their composure and are amazed by his strength. The guy landed with his back hitting a 3, and he appears to have lost his consciousness. 2 of the men are down, and 3 remain. One of the bandits realizes there is no way they can take down Logan, so he urges the others to flee as fast as possible. But that's when the staggering realization hits him. He cannot move his legs. Logan then appears to charge his aura, and the way he holds the sword, and how he looks at his enemies seems familiar. He mimics Felix's movement from their training. Logan manages to charge his sword with enough mana in order to replicate the attack Felix taught him, the Aura Blade, and it seems like a whole ass execution is going to take place. Logan places his foot forward for a more sturdy grip, and then slashes through the air with tremendous force. He manages to hit 2 of his opponents, and downs them instantly. Then something odd happens. He loses the aura he managed to conjure, which confuses him a bit. He then thinks that this skill must be hard to maintain over a long period of time. while he is looking at the last bandit that fell down on his butt and is scared shitless. Logan is happy. He managed to use the move taught by Felix. While he is not paying attention, the last bandit crawls away to safety, trying to escape the imminent danger that Logan poses. Logan then goes on to think that focusing and compressing the force through the new authority gives birth to Aura. That day, along with the pressure blade he's learned from the Duke, he also showed him the Force Blade, which is a weaker level attack, considering Logan Aura Core level. However, he thought it impossible to imitate at his current level. His cheeks then blush, and he says that he cannot believe he managed to use the Force Blade even for a short moment. He then realizes that the last bandit is trying to escape, so he turns his head around to him. Logan looks towards him, while he is crying and asking what the hell he got himself into, trying to attack and kill this guy. And Logan then prepares to attack once again, which seems to terrify the poor bastard. While walking towards him, Logan explains to himself that using the force exuding from the sword to forcefully disperse and overpower the opponent's enemy creates the skill known as the Pressure Blade. And just as he's about to stab and kill the last bandit, Logan puts on his killer smile again and says that this skill should be good enough for him to use in a fight. He then looks around at the bodies surrounding him and asks himself if he might have gone a bit overboard. A voice is then heard from behind, which really takes Logan by surprise, telling him that he has witnessed everything that has happened. The person that spoke these words is Clayton, and he seems extremely furious and prepared to take Logan down. Logan glances at Clayton, puzzled by the source of his anger. He wonders if perhaps Clayton believes he went too far, even though the attackers were thieves. Whatever the reason, if Clayton chooses not to work with him anymore, Logan will be in serious trouble. But that's not the case. Clayton looks down at Logan and, to his surprise, praises his skills, calling him amazing. Stunned, Logan is momentarily speechless. Still as gruff as ever, Clayton adds that, while he doesn't know much about Force users, what he just witnessed isn't typical for someone of Logan's age. Logan thanks Clayton for the compliment, admitting he's being too generous, and realizes that Clayton wasn't actually angry. It's just how his face always looks. Clayton and Logan walk together through the forest, and an uneasy silence fills the air. Logan glances to his side, reflecting on how he had intentionally distanced himself from the campsite to avoid exposing his abilities to anyone who wasn't an ally. He wonders if Clayton had come all this way just to find him. Breaking the silence, Clayton remarks that his disciples are struggling because they don't have the best teacher, so he's trying to teach them as much as he can while they're still together. Logan responds, reassuring him that he's already doing a good job, then asks why Clayton felt the need to share this with him. Hearing this, Clayton then stops in his tracks. He turns his head towards Logan, telling him that even after they get to Logan's territory, he wants his disciples to take breaks and shifts, and also have a chance to train with him. Clayton then tells Logan that he will work as much as it's needed for them to have this chance, and asks Logan if they can have an understanding, to which Logan immediately agrees. Then Logan looks down and realizes something strange. He looks behind Clayton and sees mana flowing out from the ground, and asks himself where it is going. It turns out that the mana goes towards the tent where the mages are sleeping. Once again, Clayton is looking at Logan, asking him if they have an agreement, all while Logan is left to ask himself, why would he go so far to share his mana with his disciples? Logan acknowledges that Clayton is cherishing his disciples greatly, and Clayton replies that, as their teacher, he at least has to do the minimum. Logan then asks Clayton if fighting with the Tower Master for their sake wasn't doing the bare minimum, but Clayton says that the Tower Master was the one asking for it. The next day, the flags of the McLain estate flow majestically in the wind, and the estate looks beautiful on this sunny day. In his father's study, Logan talks to Patrick, who seems to have heard the story of Logan's travels, and asks him if he gained a lot of experience during his time in the capital. Logan replies by informing his father that everything he learned was immensely helpful, to which Patrick says that it's all good in that case, and asks Logan if he wants to report anything else. Hearing this, Logan thinks there could have been a better way to approach the subject, rather than being so direct. He casually mentions to Patrick that his business in the capital is thriving, and that profits will soon start rolling in, which leaves Patrick astonished. Rising from his desk, Patrick asks Logan what business he's referring to. Logan explains that he's been commercializing the medicine he had previously given him. Patrick looks as if he's about to faint, and asks if Logan really went all the way to the capital to sell sexual enhancers. Placing a hand on his forehead, Patrick sighs, reminding Logan that, despite his promise not to interfere, this is still quite the surprise. Patrick then asks Logan to be more mindful of the family's reputation and dignity the next time he takes action like this. Logan quickly promises his father that he will, feeling relieved that Patrick is handling the situation better than he had expected. Patrick, however, raises an eyebrow and asks if Logan answered his question without giving it much thought. Once again, Logan gives the same swift affirmative response. Logan then informs his father that he's also made the acquaintance of the Sword Duke and has established a strong connection with him. Upon hearing this, Patrick, stunned about the information, immediately asks if he's referring to Felix Esperanza. Patrick, fuming, then asks Logan if he also sold the medicine to Felix. With a grin, Logan replies that he did exactly that. Furious, Patrick shouts at Logan, demanding to know how far he plans to drag the family's reputation down. Unfazed, Logan calmly pulls out a book Felix gave him and says that in return, he received a valuable intermediate sword technique. Patrick, now calmer, takes the book from Logan's hands and reads the title aloud, The Iron Blood Sword. He remarks that it's a genuine intermediate sword skill, guaranteed by the Sword Duke himself. However, Logan knows this isn't entirely true, as he had written that comment during his stay at the Sword Duke's mansion. Logan then reflects on how an imperial merchant had unearthed the Iron Blood Sword from ancient ruins. It was considered one of the top intermediate sword techniques of the time. Initially, the merchant had copied and sold the book to only a select few, but eventually, it was leaked, and copies of the entire technique began circulating throughout the market. Over time, it became so widespread that knights across the continent, and even common folk, could learn it. However, he also thinks that this event is only bound to happen 10 years from now, so having the knights of the family learn this skill right now will greatly help their forces advance. Logan goes on to think that if they also add in the mixture the sword chi, and even the divine sword secrets, his father and Ranyan could use those as their trump cards. Yet all that being said, the Iron Blood Sword technique moves force to an extreme, so it could inflict internal damage during training, and there is no way Patrick would allow for something like that to happen. But adding the Sword Duke's name to the book will definitely make Patrick accept it. Patrick reads the contents of the book and says that this is on a completely different level from the worn-out records the family has passed down, and that this book is of a far superior quality. As his hands tremble on the book, Patrick thinks that in reality, gaining proper intermediate sword skills for a noble is hard, and that he even considers this the reason for which he was stuck in level for the past 10 years. Patrick then goes on to tell Logan that properly mastering this technique will raise their Knight's Order's overall strength by at least 30%, and wonders how they could ever repay the Duke's kindness. Hearing this, Logan thinks that it's great he thinks that, as he has a proposal for his father. Logan should also properly master the technique in order to show it to Felix and repay him. However, Patrick suddenly rushes out of the room, cutting Logan off before he can say anything. He tosses a stamp at Logan and tells him that mastering the Iron Blood Sword technique is now his top priority, leaving Logan in charge of everything until he succeeds. It's at that moment Logan realizes the gravity of the situation. Patrick has just thrown him the family sigil, symbolizing his temporary authority over the family's affairs. Patrick bolts through the door, calling back to Logan to assist Dwayne with the family matters in his absence, promising to return once he has mastered the Iron Blood Sword technique to perfection. He hastily thanks Logan and departs, not giving him a chance to bring up the matters he wanted to discuss. Logan is left standing alone in his father's study, holding the family sigil, completely at a loss for what to do next. Logan stares at the family seal, realizing that having it in his possession means he can now act freely without needing anyone's permission. As this thought sinks in, Dwayne bursts into the room, exclaiming that he's heard all about Logan's accomplishments in the capital. Logan, now determined, silently vows to accomplish everything he desires before Patrick returns from his training. Dwayne quickly begins pleading with Logan for money to help with the family's financial situation. Logan, skeptical, asks if Dwayne didn't already receive funds from the battle with Tessrin. Dwayne shouts in frustration, explaining that those funds are nowhere near enough to maintain both fortresses. The battle caused a severe labor shortage, and because of this, production will drop significantly this year. To make matters worse, the Kairos have also cut off all aid, leaving the family in an even more precarious position. Dwayne, desperate, drops to his knees and begs Logan for money, pleading since he's heard about the fortune Logan made in the capital. But Logan simply smiles and says that he is sorry, but he's already spent all the money. Hearing this, Dwayne can't believe what Logan is saying, so he replies by telling him that he heard Logan has made at least a couple of million, and asks him where on earth could he be able to spend all of that money in so little time. However, Logan just looks down on Dwayne, smiling, without saying a word. Dwayne looks up at Logan and tells him to stop these shenanigans, as it's not funny. Yet Logan just keeps his composure, maintaining the same exact look, looking down on Dwayne. And seeing this, Dwayne starts sweating bullets. He then asks Logan if he is serious about all this, and Logan nods affirmatively. He then bows back down in despair, and asks Logan where on earth he managed to spend all of that money, to which Logan replies that he has spent 1.2 million gold on magic scrolls and images. Plus, he also bought construction materials and food to support the people of their regions, so there's nothing left. Dwayne looks at Logan, reiterating what he just said. He said that buying a little food, and giving it to the people is not going to make a difference. But that's when Logan tells him that he spent 1 million gold on food alone. Dwayne isn't sure he heard that right, and asks Logan to tell him once again, and Logan obliges by telling him that he will distribute food worth 1 million gold every month for a year among the people. Hearing this, Dwayne starts shouting, asking Logan if he ate something to make him crazy, and Logan thinks that this is a normal reaction, as him becoming a bit of a war hero isn't going to change Dwayne's view about him. Logan then tells Dwayne that he is completely in his right mind, and asks him if the food he has bought is enough to feed the people. Dwayne tells him that it is indeed, and asks him what he plans to do with the construction materials and the scrolls, and then proceeds to ask him if he is starting some construction, and Logan tells him that they will be constructing a dam. 2 weeks later, a note starts circulating the city, and it reads the following. The feudal lord calls upon everyone eligible for statutory labor, for those in the McLain fortress and the west gate in their city, to those in the storm fortress and those in the east gate in the outer city. Seeing this, a man from the Tesran fortress declares that they've finally reached this point. The nobles are exploiting them without restraint. One commoner from the McLain fortress adds that forcing them into statutory labor during the peak farming season is madness, as it will leave their children starving. Another voice chimes in, lamenting that they barely survived the battle, only to find the feudal lord now trying to crush them. They furiously question whether the message they received leaves them with a choice, to die fleeing, to toil in labor, or simply to starve. They realize that in the end, all paths lead to the same result. With determination, they grab their pitchforks and any tools they can find, seemingly ready to rise up against the feudal lord in rebellion. Everyone has gathered in front of the McLain estate, and Logan asks if everyone is present. A young man turns to an elder and asks if they are really going to go through with this. The elder replies firmly that the lords are treating them like dogs, while they barely scrape by, living off grass just to survive. Also, the nobles can thrive. The elder observes the large crowd gathered and declares that this time, it's truly worth picking a fight. A bead of sweat trickles from the younger man's forehead to his cheek as he looks at the elder and agrees, saying he'd rather seize this opportunity to fight and drag those miserable nobles out of their stronghold. Just then, the castle doors swing open, and the people, fueled by determination, take their stances, ready to confront whatever lies ahead. As the gates swing open completely, the silhouettes of several knights become visible behind the rows of prepared fighters. One of the knights shouts to his comrades to get ready for distribution. The gathered crowd, initially tense for a fight, calms down and begins to wonder what the knight means by distribution. The elder steps forward, cautioning the people that it's a trick and reminding them of the true nature of the nobles. Just then, a man places a bag in front of him. The knight explains that, per young Master Logan's orders, those who participate in the compulsory labor duty will receive a month's worth of grain suitable for a family. He instructs everyone to form a line at the gate for the distribution to begin. Hearing this, the crowd drops their weapons and rushes to line up for their share. The old man clutches his bag tightly, looking down at the ground in silence. He trembles for a moment, then lifts his head and shouts for all to hear, "All hail Logan McLain!" Then as the other people turn towards him, he does it once again, and the people let out a smile, thinking that the old man is right, and so they all start hailing for Logan. On the walls of the estate, Dwayne and Logan are talking, and Dwayne asks him if he really needed to force a compulsory order to have them gathered here, as he could have just asked them to gather there. Logan replies by saying that if he had done that, not even 1/4 of them would have come, since after all, they don't trust the nobles. He explains that nobles consider their people as their property, and any nobles with sense consider it their duty to protect their people. But living as a mercenary and an ordinary person in his past life has taught him that for the commoners, between good and bad nobles, there is only one difference, that being which one takes away more from them. Logan tells Dwayne that even his father thinks about knights more than the people, as after all, he thinks the knights are the strength of a nation. This is why, despite the lack of budget, he still maintains a knight order of 50 people. This is why Logan has forced them to gather here and let them see it, so they can actually believe it. Logan then turns his head towards Dwayne and asks him why he is staring. Dwayne replies by saying that he was just surprised, and that Logan is surprising him quite a bit these days. Logan tells Dwayne that he is being silly, and that anyway, since Dwayne listens and trusts Logan like this, he can go ahead and start the construction. Dwayne is annoyed to hear about that damn dam again, and asks Logan to think it over one more time, as there's no point in spending 2 million gold on that construction, and then proceeds to ask Logan if it is even possible to construct it, to which Logan replies by saying that Dwayne sounds just like Hamar and Clayton. Logan has revealed his plan to Hamar and Clayton, who are amazed by the idea of constructing a dam. While having dinner, they ask if his intention is to draw water from the dam and build a floodgate. Logan confirms, stating that it's not only correct, but also entirely feasible, and he insists that the project be carried out exactly as planned. He then adds that the McLain territory is surrounded by dense mountains and wastelands, making the land barren and in need of this transformation. Logan explains that even the relatively shallow mountains to the north are blocking the flow of the Luther River from turning south. To achieve the transformation of the land, he instructs Hamar and Clayton to create a large hole through these northern wild mountains, allowing the river's water to flow through. Hamar, irritated, retorts that it would be more believable if Logan had asked them to simply knock down the mountain. Logan clarifies that they will instead build a tunnel, connecting directly to the Luther River, with a diameter of 30 meters at ground level, which will act as a floodgate. He adds that this method is used in the western part of the continent, where it is known as a dam. In truth, Logan knows this isn't entirely accurate. It's actually a flood control method that will become popular in the Empire about 20 years into the future. He also doesn't fully understand the principles of its construction. However, with a master-level dwarf and a fifth circle mage at his disposal, Logan believes this ambitious project might be possible. If the two successfully complete the construction, Logan will be able to turn the barren wastelands of Western McLain into fertile, arable plains. Clayton is about to comment on Logan's plan, but Hamar interjects, stressing the importance of carefully selecting the location. He explains that the ground composition is critical, and they must also consider the water levels and channels. To prevent the tunnel from collapsing, they'll need to construct an arch structure and enlist the help of mages. After hearing all this, Clayton turns to Hamar and asks if Logan's idea is truly feasible. Hamar, surprised at himself for having said all that out loud, can hardly believe it either. Hearing all of this, Logan, holding his glass of wine with a glimmer in his eye, confidently acknowledges that the plan is indeed possible. This makes both Clayton and Hamar break into a nervous sweat. Hamar, trying to explain, begins to tell Logan that he's already busy with other tasks, including the newly started mining operation. But before he can finish, Logan cuts him off, saying that this is exactly why he has prepared magic scrolls and mages to assist in the project. Logan then tells Hamar that he will leave finding the right mountain up to him, and hearing this, Hamar reluctantly says that he knew there was something off when Logan decided to treat him to some delicious meal out of nowhere. And seeing all this, Clayton just asks himself if everything that's happening is really okay. At the construction site, Clayton stands ready, channeling his magic as he prepares to cast a spell. A safe distance behind him, two workers watch nervously, wondering if they might still be in danger. One of them dismisses the concern, assuring the other that since Logan is present, they should be fine. Hamar then shouts to Clayton, letting him know that if he's ready, he can go ahead and begin his work. Clayton presses his magic-infused hand against the mountain, and with a sudden surge of power, the mountain's surface shatters into millions of pieces. The people present immediately scramble to dodge the falling debris and rocks raining down from the sky in chaotic bursts. Seeing the chaos caused by the shattered mountain face, Hamar scolds Clayton, reminding him that he had instructed him to go easy and questioning why he felt the need to show off his strength unnecessarily. Logan, observing this, begins to explain that besides physical force, there is another supernatural power that humans can wield: mana. In his previous life, Logan could only faintly sense mana, but now he can see it clearly. He marvels as the Earth's power, originating from the mana circle within Clayton's heart, intricately weaves constant patterns to stimulate and break the rock wall. Astonished by what he's witnessing, Logan realizes that the development of his force core has enhanced his senses to a transcendent level. Clayton turns to Logan with a smirk and tells him to watch closely for his next spell, insisting that what Logan saw was just the beginning. Logan, unimpressed at first, observes as Clayton raises his hand and suddenly clenches his fist. In an instant, all the rocks from the earlier explosion pile up and begin to float in front of him. Logan quickly realizes what's happening. The debris from the shattered cliff is gathering into a massive shape. The sheer size of the newly formed structure makes Logan look up in awe, while Hamar, overwhelmed, hides behind Logan's leg like a frightened child. Clayton has transformed the scattered rocks into a towering rock golem. Logan, astonished that Clayton could create such a colossal figure without any tools, begins to contemplate the possibilities. He mutters to himself that if they could make a few more of these golems, not only would the construction be completed much faster than anticipated, but they could even be used in warfare. Overwhelmed by Clayton's power, Logan excitedly grabs Clayton's hands, his face filled with a mad intensity, and asks how many golems he can create. Excited by the potential, even asks Clayton if his students are also capable of creating golems. Clayton confirms, explaining that since they hail from the Golem School of the Earth Magic Tower, they can indeed create golems. Logan is thrilled by this revelation, but Clayton quickly tempers his enthusiasm by pointing out a significant limitation. He explains that the spell formula required to create a golem's core with mana can only be performed by fifth circle mages. His students, while skilled, aren't strong enough to form golem cores on their own, and instead require mana stones. Even with those, the golems they create will be much smaller and considerably weaker than the one Clayton just summoned. Hearing this, Logan's facial expression changes drastically. He explains that mana stones are a mineral as rare as orichalcum or mithril, imbued with the natural energy of mana, making a rare ore. It cannot be artificially produced, and since it is used for magical assistance or artificial creation, it is also quite expensive, and that makes Logan think that mana stones aren't that cost-effective for this job. Yet Logan can't be looking at cost-effectiveness in a war, since if he can win by investing some money, that is good enough. He then proceeds to ask Clayton if his golem would also get stronger if he uses mana stones, to which Clayton replied affirmatively, saying that its strength and speed would increase, and it would last many times longer. However, since he is a 5th circle mage, he'd need the highest grade mana stone for that. Even so, for a 2nd circle mage, golem spell a low-grade mana stone is good enough. It can last for about 24 hours, and it can become many times stronger compared to an adult man. Hearing this, Logan goes on to think that a low-grade mana stone costs about the same as a piece of gold. Their cost-to-cost benefit ratio is too low for all that money, but for a short war like the last war between fiefs, it could easily bring a much greater result. Dwayne arrives at the construction site, and upon seeing the massive golem punching away at the mountain, he is utterly terrified. His eyes widen in shock as he assumes that the golem is trying to destroy the territory. Logan quickly tries to calm him down, explaining that the golem isn't destroying anything but is actually digging a tunnel as part of the plan. However, Dwayne is too overwhelmed by fear to listen. Without hearing Logan out, he panics and runs off, shouting that he must inform the patriarch about what's happening. Logan turns to Hamar and instructs him to take the workers to start on the water channel, noting that there's no need to leave anyone behind for the tunnel construction, since the golem is more than sufficient for the task. Hamar, nodding in agreement, turns his back to the group and begins ordering the workers to stop being scared, telling them to gather their tools and leave. Meanwhile, Logan reflects on the fact that he now has 3 construction projects underway, feeling a mix of excitement and determination about the progress they are making. First is the tunnel and the dam. Second is the water channel that'll distribute the river water to every place in the wasteland. And third is the mine, for which Logan already got the results from the drilling while he was in Grand. Therefore, he already deployed workers there before anywhere else. Logan then thinks that after coming back from the capital, he's been busy with the dam construction, so he couldn't keep watch over the mine, so he will pay a visit there tomorrow. The next day, people are seen coming in and out of the mine, with Hamar among them, looking particularly grumpy. Logan approaches Hamar and comments that they haven't seen each other in a while. Hamar retorts, asking what Logan is talking about. Clenching his fist, he accuses Logan of making him run back and forth between the mine and the water channel, expressing his frustration. In a fit of rage, he tells Logan that he can't keep up with the workload anymore and suggests that it would be better to just kill him instead. He laments that he can't even take a break and questions whether work will stop if he's not there. Hamar then demands to know why he has to shoulder all this hard work alone. Throughout Hamar's outburst, Logan stands speechless, unsure of how to respond. Meanwhile, one of the other workers notices Hamar's explosive frustration and warns the others that they need to intervene before things escalate further. As Hamar slumps back onto the ground, tears in his eyes, Logan gently places a hand on his shoulder in an attempt to comfort him. He acknowledges the hard work Hamar has been putting in, assuring him that he understands and appreciates everything he has accomplished. Logan tells Hamar that from now on, he will let him take care of and manage everything on his own. Hamar's expression shifts to one of disbelief, his face paling as he asks Logan if he is serious. He wonders if Logan truly intends to dump all the chores onto him. Logan feels a twinge of sadness that Hamar has caught on to his intention. With a playful yet earnest gesture, Logan extends his pinky finger, promising Hamar that once the construction is complete, he will allow him to take all the rest he needs. Hamar, feeling overwhelmed, tries to push Logan's hand away, insisting that he won't accept such an arrangement. But Logan firmly catches hold of Hamar's finger, almost causing the poor dwarf to yelp in pain as he threatens to break it. As Hamar is standing on the ground, annoyed by the whole situation, Logan just turns his back and brushes his hair with his hand, saying that he is just trying to act all cheeky. He then looks at the mine, saying that now the mine will be developed faster than in his previous life, and even though he is not sure about the dam, he hopes it will work out. In the end, that is the only way his plans will succeed. Logan activates a communication channel to speak with Philip, who informs him that the construction materials will be delivered without any issues. He also mentions that he has secured an agreement for the lumber they've been trading, which will bring in an additional 100,000 gold per month. This news brings a smile to Logan's face, pleased with the progress. Philip, filled with excitement, tells Logan that once they finish building the mine and clear the land, the territory will be completely transformed. He then tells Logan that he would like to come and see it for himself one day. Logan glances at the globe for a moment, deep in thought, before responding that Philip should visit next year. Curious, Philip asks why next year, but then quickly adds that he probably won't get an answer, even if he asks. Logan then shifts the conversation, revealing to Philip that there have been rumors circulating in the capital that there is a problem with the royal family. Philip asks Logan what problem he is talking about, and Logan replies that he heard about it when he was at the Sword Duke's house, and he doesn't know the details, but it seems like a big issue. He tells Philip that he should try to find out about the rumors while he's doing business. Logan reflects on his memories from his past life, recalling that next winter, the king suddenly dies, leading to a civil war. However, he acknowledges that the information he has as a low-ranking mercenary may not be entirely accurate. If the king's death is indeed sudden, it will follow the same pattern as it did in his previous life. Otherwise, the timing could vary. Just like the war between the fiefs, the onset of the civil war could be influenced by unforeseen factors. Logan understands that he cannot begin to prepare until he has confirmed the situation. His primary focus is to ready the McLain family for the impending chaos that will upend the kingdom's order. Logan instructs Philip to allocate the remaining budget as an emergency fund and to purchase as many weapons and armor as possible, specifically enough to equip 1,500 men. Upon hearing this, Philip breaks into a sweat, expressing that this is no small undertaking. He questions why Logan needs so much equipment when the McLains only have around 100 knights. Logan clarifies that the equipment is not intended for the knights, but for the soldiers. This revelation sends Philip into a frenzy, incredulously asking Logan if he has truly lost his mind. He argues that no one fully arms their soldiers in war, deeming it a waste of money. However, Logan refuses to entertain the objections. Internally, Logan reflects that while his actions may seem unusual, they are driven by necessity. The last war resulted in significant casualties among his territory's people, drastically reducing the expected output. To counter this, he needs to minimize conscription while maximizing the strength of his knights and regular soldiers. Arming the most vulnerable regular soldiers is a crucial part of that strategy. Logan then asks Philip if his judgment was ever wrong, to which Philip reluctantly says no. Then he puts a smirk on his face and tells Philip that this being the case, they should proceed as discussed. Philip says that he understands and that he will discreetly find out more about the rumor. With this, Logan says that from securing funds through the mine, ensuring food supply with dam construction, and improving the soldiers' armament, the basic preparations for a leap forward are progressing smoothly. An enormous stack of papers sits on Logan's desk, overwhelming him as he fumbles through the documents. Dwayne stands beside him, directing his attention to specific papers and explaining what he needs to do. Read that, sign the other one, and so on, before adding that he will bring the next set of documents for Logan's review later. Reading one of the documents, Dwayne informed Logan that he had once again signed a document without properly checking it, questioning whether he intended to continue this carelessness. Meanwhile, Logan could only think about how long he had been buried in paperwork. Dwayne noted that this had been ongoing for nearly a month. He emphasizes that acting as Lord required more than just a day or two of work, and Logan reflected on how he had never seen his father work this much. Dwayne continued to explain that he had been handling most of the work for the Patriarch, leaving him astonished at the revelation. Logan questioned why Dwayne had dumped all the responsibilities on him, to which Dwayne asserted that as the future successor, Logan needed to thoroughly understand the affairs of the territory. Just then, the door opened, and Logan shouted at Dwayne, insisting he was not the successor, and Dwayne simply asked if anyone else agreed with that. At that moment, Kaisalan entered, looking troubled. He hesitated before speaking, finally managing to relay that Hamar had become trapped in a collapsed mine. The news sent a wave of fear through Logan, who was instantly alarmed by the urgency of the situation. Logan rises from his chair and asks Kaisalan how it happened. Kaisalan explains that one of the mine tunnels has collapsed. Concerned, Logan immediately inquires about the extent of the damage and whether they've found Hamar, while Dwayne interrupts to ask when their territory even had a mine. Ignoring Dwayne, Kaisalan reports that over 50 meters of the tunnels have collapsed, making it impossible to locate Hamar's exact position. Upon hearing this, Logan rushes toward the door, saying there's no time to waste and that they need to head to the mine immediately. Once again, furious, Dwayne asks where the hell did a mine come from. Logan arrives at the mine on horseback and quickly asks the workers which tunnel collapsed. One of the men